You're winning. You're winning. You're winning. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Epic Understanding. How y'all like my new opening? I think it's kind of fun, got me dancing a little bit, have some past shows in there. So that's really neat. I'm pretty excited about that. I'll tell you something else that I'm excited about. I'm excited about our next guest. His name is Dr. Norris Roberts. He is a father. He is a husband of over 20 plus years. I'll have to find out the exact number. He is, he works at one of the biggest government contractors for Boeing. And he does cyber security stuff there. He can tell you more about that. But he came to me and on my heart because of his books that he's written about caregiving. He actually, within the middle of his career, had to take care of his mom, his father, and his father-in-law. So this is at the height of his career where things were about to go in many different positive directions. He had to take off work, and that is something that happens to many Generation Xers. On top of that, his daughter was in college and pregnant. So it's like, wow. Truly, that's not the half of it. I have to tell you, he is going to reveal a bit of his story. He's trying to get his equipment settled in, but let's go ahead and bring him up. Welcome. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I am fantastic. I'm fantastic. Now, did I leave anything good out?
Only thing you said that you didn't know about was how long I've been married. And I've
Oh,
been
yeah.
married.
Yeah.
I've been married for 32 years. It'll be 33 years and actually next month.
So you got married when you were 12. That's what happened. Congratulations. I knew you had been married for well over, 25 years, but I didn't realize you had reached the 30-year mark. Just,
Yeah.
that is amazing, to go through life in partnership with someone that long. So, what's the key? What's the key, Norris?
I don't know. We met the second week of college. Have been together ever since. And
Oh,
so she's my college sweetheart. I just think you just gotta find the right person, and that's part of it. And you just have to. The other part of it, I think, is that you just have to be selfless in the marriage. And so it's not about you. It's about serving one another. I think that's probably what's key. I think a lot of times people are just selfish, and when I say that, we just focus on ourselves maybe a little bit more than we should. So you focus on someone else, like your partner, then um, it's like giving of yourself because you want to make them happy. So and then happy wife, happy life.
okay, that's your model. That
Yeah.
is your model. And your wife is actually quite an accomplished woman too. If you want to give her a big shout out.
Yes. My wife's name is she's a doctor as well. Her name is Dr. Jeannie Roberts, and
Hmm.
so she's a retired educator now. So a retired administrator in education. So she retired maybe a couple of years ago. And
Okay.
so she's off on a new journey. So she's trying to figure out what she wants to do next.
Oh, she's going to figure out what she's going to do when she grows up.
Yeah, she's still figuring that out. But
Okay.
so she retired right before right at COVID. When COVID hit, she retired at June after COVID started.
Okay. I can't say I blame her. It's tough out there for educators. So,
Yeah,
and how many kids do you guys have?
we have two. They're twins, and they will be 32 years old this year. Actually, this next month, our anniversary is May 27th, and they were born May 28th.
Wow. Wow. How beautiful. All right,
Yeah,
Dad. And Grandpa, your grandpa too. Is that what they call you?
they call me Papa. I got three grandkids. One's 10, one's 7, and one just turned. I think he's 14 months old. I got two granddaughters and one grandson.
Wow. So you are the quintessential family man. We just got to celebrate you for that. Yeah, we really do. We have to celebrate you for that. So now that we kind of got all the particulars out the way, I'm really not quite sure how it is you have all this time to write, you know, these books, but it's a talent and a passion of yours, and you live these stories, and so it is a big deal. Well, easy for you. I'm going to put this picture up for you, and the your new book is called Daddy is Still Here. And you had a previous book that is Mama is Still Here, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And this picture here, who are these guys?
That is my parents on their wedding day. They were married June 21st, the first day of summer in 1964.
Wow. Wow. That's wonderful. So you must have learned how to be a good family man from your dad.
Yeah, I think so. My dad, my grandparents,
Yeah.
um, they're from Mississippi. So I was actually born in Mississippi. A lot of people don't realize that. I was born in a small town called Winona, Mississippi. And so my
Okay.
parents, in that picture you see with my parents, it was actually at my maternal grandparents' home. And my
Oh.
mother, she was married in the front yard. And
Oh.
so I share a little bit about that story in one of my flashbacks in my first book, Mama is Still Here.
Mhm.
Because my mother, she planned every little part of that wedding. She was excited about it. She, well, of course, she's excited because she was getting married. But
Mhm.
the thing is that back in those days, back in the '60s, especially in a small town in rural Mississippi, well, from my understanding, she wanted to walk down the aisle, and so her brother he built this walkway for an aisle for her to walk down using
Mhm.
paper in the middle of the yard. And
Aw.
so at that time, my great grandparents were still living. My grandparents, I mean, all of the important people, all the grands were there, great and grands, and my mother and father got married in the front yard, and there was, of course, there was a minister there, but the grandparents and the great grandparents and all of that, they sat on the porch because this big long porch, like you can envision this big long porch in front of this farmhouse, and it
Mhm.
had all of the furniture and the swings. I can just imagine what they looked like. So it was a big deal, and I think what I understand, half of the town was there.
Oh, wow.
So
That's beautiful. That is absolutely beautiful. So, in a way, although it might seem strange to other people that you stopped your life in order to take care of your loved ones, this is a part of who you are.
yeah, I mean, I come from a very, very large extended family. My
Mhm.
mother, she has 8 brothers, and she had 2 sisters, so 11 of them. My
Mhm.
dad had a big family as well. It was actually 13 of them. And
Mhm.
so, but two of them had passed away before they became, adults. And so in their adult life, there was 11 of them.
Mhm.
But the point I like to make is, hey, a large extended family, and my parents kept me very connected to my extended family in
Mhm.
Mississippi. So they moved to St. Louis when I was an infant because it was that great migration
Mhm.
of going north. And
Okay.
so my mother, she was college educated. My dad was as well. He didn't get his degree. My mom did get her degree. She got hers in business education. She also got she got a dual degree. I think it was in home economics. And so she was a school teacher for St. Louis Public. My dad worked for General Motors and he worked there for 42 years. And
Oh,
my dad also had another job that he did because he really like worked two full-time jobs for a long time. And so he was also a mechanic at Western Auto. And he was a mechanic at Western Auto at near the old Sears building. It was a Western Auto there, the old Sears building on Kings Highway.
mhm.
That's where he started his career at. And it was a big deal back then because um, back in those days, they didn't hire, he was like the only, black mechanic they had. Others were white. And so, and my dad had a ton of certifications. And so he retired. He worked at General Motors well. He worked on the IP line, instrument panel line for a long time. And then he moved into compliance
I
and
see.
quality control. So he had a good career, and he loved the work that he did, and he loved working on cars. So it was a perfect place for him.
That's beautiful. How many brothers and sisters do you have?
I have one sibling, so I got a small nuclear family,
Mhm.
and just had the one sister, and she's 4 years younger.
I see. I see. So time passed and everyone aged, and all of a sudden, you found yourself with a mother who had Alzheimer's.
Yes, 2007.
Hmm. And you took this journey with her, and it was so impactful on you. You wrote your first book.
Yeah, I wrote the book initially. It wasn't so much I wanted to write a book. It was like I was trying to process what was happening.
Hmm.
And as I started processing what was happening, people started encouraging me, you should publish a book. And so I started the writing way, to have a book, I put out there. And that's what ended up happening. And what I also learned when I was going to get in my doctorate, I learned that I could write. And
Hmm.
so, because I didn't know that I was a good writer. And so,
You actually got an invitation to write for Chicken Soup for the Soul, correct?
yeah, I did.
Yeah.
They didn't publish my work, but I got an invitation for it.
Well, you know what? Everybody
Yeah.
doesn't get an invitation, so there you go. Tell me this. What was it that you were trying to process? What bubbled up inside of you?
I was just trying to I was trying to understand why my mother.
Mhm.
And the reason I say that because my mother was that individual. I mean, she was an extremely beautiful lady,
Mhm.
and she was that individual that always took good care of herself.
Okay.
She always ate right. She made sure that we ate right growing up.
Mhm.
Um, she exercised. I mean, and she really believed that an apple a day kept the doctor away. And she
Mm.
literally ate an apple every day. And she would say that on every day, said, an apple a day keep the doctor away. And so I
Mhm.
remember all those sayings that she had. And it was just mind boggling of all the people on planet Earth, of all
Mm.
the things you could get, she got Alzheimer's.
Mhm.
And the sad part about it, she was like the family memory. She was not like just my our little nuclear family memory maker. She was the entire extended family nuclear maker. I mean, memory maker.
Mhm.
And when I say that, she loved having like family gatherings, and she was that one person that got the family together. She was
Mhm.
that one person that kept everybody connected. She was everybody's favorite aunt, favorite sister, favorite cousin. I mean, she was that favorite friend. Um, she was all of the. I got probably more than like 50 first cousins.
Right.
And so, you know, she was the one, cousins, they lived, excuse me, like across the whole country.
Mhm.
And they made it a point to come see her, and on their travels they give her like little mementos or whatever, or send pictures. And so, her wall was just filled with just living room and family rooms filled with just pictures and whatnots from all over the world.
That's powerful. And I'll tell you what's occurring to me. All the love that she had to give out, and even as many people loved her, the time came to pass where she needed someone to change their life for her. She needed someone to live for her best interests. Is essentially what needed to happen because, nice gifts and saying nice things and sending mementos or what have you is not the same as walking someone's daily walk with them and partnering with them in their health journey, no matter how detrimental it may be. And that's what you did.
Yeah, but it wasn't, when I did it, it wasn't, it's kind of one of those things, you just do what you have to do. I
Right.
never saw it as I was making this sacrifice. I
Mm-hmm.
was just doing what needed to be done. And and the thing about it, when I think about it now, it was an all in God's plan. He just ordered my steps. Um, and
And
when I say, yeah,
I'm not saying that it was burdensome for you. What I am saying is the change had to be made. So
yeah, yeah,
living.
we had to, like my mother, she, like one of the things we did when she was healthy before she got Alzheimer's. We had Sunday dinner after church every Sunday, and my mother, she cooked Sunday dinner. And when she couldn't do it anymore, my wife took on that mantle and she did it. And so every Sunday, um, when she became ill and she couldn't cook anymore, I would drive to my parents' house and I would pick them up and bring them to my house, and we continued to do our Sunday dinners together up to the point until she passed. When it became really difficult to bring her to my house, what we did, we just brought dinner to them and we ate dinner with them. And so that was just something that we could do to keep some normalcy in the situation. And it wasn't just from my mom, but it was from my dad.
Mm-hmm.
Because my dad, he lost a lot. He was losing his life partner, his wife. Um, and so, and kind of one of the things I really admire about my dad, he raised the bar really high, how a husband should take care of his wife. And when
Right.
I say that, my dad took my mom to the beauty shop every week to get her hair done. And um, he didn't have to, but he wanted to.
Right.
He wanted to take care of her in a way that she took care of herself.
Mm-hmm.
Um, my mom lost significant weight in her Alzheimer's journey because that's part of the disease. Because part of her issues that she would that she wouldn't eat,
Mm-hmm.
and because that she don't know that she's hungry, because it takes all of that away from you. And so she lost a lot of weight. And she wasn't a big lady anyway. She like weighed about maybe 140 pounds, and so she dropped to like 100 pounds. So my dad, she get all new clothes, and so what he did, he continued to shop in the high end department stores and got her the really nice stuff. He found people that would help him pick out things for her, um, and so he kept her dressed really nice. And he even put makeup on her. He did that, and he continued to buy her favorite colognes, and we would still take her out as long as we could do that. Cause if we didn't cook Sunday dinner, we went out to Sunday dinner.
Okay.
And so we could, because she was mobile for a long time, even when she had lost a lot of her memory. But we
Okay.
just continued just to socialize her. And that's one of the things I admire about my dad. We didn't try to hide her from others and try to pretend like she doesn't have Alzheimer's.
Mm-hmm.
We continued to socialize her until we just couldn't do it because she got to a point where she couldn't walk.
Mm.
So
I love that your dad was very proud of his wife, regardless of
exactly, he was.
he's very proud of her.
He loved her. I mean, he loved his wife, and he exhibited by by all the things he did. And what was awesome about it was that other people came alongside of him and helped. Like it got to a point, my mother, she really couldn't be in a beauty shop with other people.
Mm-hmm.
And so the person that was doing her hair would have my dad bring her at times when others weren't there.
I understand.
So it was that kind, because it was a lot. It was a lot of things. It was the water. Water became an issue for her,
Mm-hmm.
and the reason why water was an issue is because people have Alzheimer's. Water is something they can feel, but they can't see,
Mm-hmm.
because the Alzheimer's, what it does, it compromises their sight.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why taking showers and taking baths is so difficult for them, because they can feel it, but they can't see it. And just imagine you can feel something you can't see, and then
Mm-hmm.
you're wondering, what is that?
Wow. Wow. So this was in 2007, right?
Yes. hmm
And then your father's health started to fade in what year?
His health started to fade in 2013.
Okay. And at what point was your mother, because your mother was still living at that point, but
Yeah.
her her disease had really progressed.
Yeah, it progressed to the point that she couldn't feed herself.
Mm-hmm.
And so for a long time, she was mobile, but she couldn't like dress herself, or, that kind of thing. But
Mm-hmm.
she got to a place where she couldn't even feed herself, and so we had to feed her.
Mm-hmm.
And so many times my dad, he would feed her, but then most of the times as he got sicker, I would feed her, and then I would just feed her because I wanted them to eat dinner together.
Right.
And so yeah, but she got to a point where, and then she got to the point before she passed. She got to a place where she could not walk at all.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had to, she was in a, move around in a wheelchair. But most of the time, I just picked her up. I mean, I was picking her up long when she was even mobile, because getting out of the car and those transitions from going from
Mm-hmm.
from getting in and out of the car was always it could be an issue. And so just to avoid trying to get her to convince her she need to get out the car, I'll just grab her and pick her up. She was so little anyway. And I'll
Mm-hmm.
just take her in the house, and then she'll laugh and she'll smile. And
Yeah.
so,
She probably got a kick out of her son picking her up.
yeah, she liked that. She got a kick out of it. So I remember, yeah, but it was one episode. It was one day, it was a Sunday, and I write about it in the book. And
Mm-hmm.
my mother, she got, I mean, she was having a good day. She sat on the front seat, with me because she always wanted to sit on the front seat of the car,
Mm-hmm.
never the back seat. It was no driving Miss Daisy. It was Miss
Okay.
Daisy gonna be in the front, and my dad would have to sit in the back. And so she got out the car and she got to the front door of my house, and she just stood there.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "Mama," I said, "what's wrong?" I opened the screen door up for the walk in, and she said, "Are you serious?" And she looked down at the welcome mat on the porch,
Mm-hmm.
and I said, "What's wrong?" And she said that I can't step over that. And so I was following her eyes, and because I've been doing research about the disease, and I realized how this disease compromised their sight when they have Alzheimer's. I realized she thought that welcome mat on the porch, she thought there was a hole in the
Mm-hmm.
porch. And then because she made a comment that she may fall in. And
Mm-hmm.
so what I did, I picked up the welcome mat and I threw it over in the flower bed real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Then she looked at me and she said, "How you do that?" And she laughed and she walked on in the house.
Oh.
And the point I make to people is that, our jobs as caregivers is to, first of all, make sure they're safe.
Mm-hmm.
And number two is to comfort them.
Mm-hmm.
So most people reaction, they would have been like, "Oh, there's no hole there," and try to push them in the house.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
that would have caused an anxiety attack.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole purpose of us, for me going to get them is to have a nice dinner. And if I had did anything other than what I did, that would have ruined the dinner. And she would have thought her loving son is trying to push her down in a hole and hurt her. So I share that story to let people know you have to respect the disease and be mindful of how they may be perceiving things, and,
Right.
and do whatever you can to comfort them through that. And
Mm-hmm.
that's just an example that I try to share to say, you know, um, you gotta, it's just not all about, it's not all about us. We
Right.
have to, we have to be selfless and really have that empathy to figure out how can we help them navigate what they're going through with as much ease as possible and as much patience as possible. So,
Mm-hmm.
and so the one thing I try to not do was never put her in a situation where, that she going to have an anxiety attack, because um, that can get pretty bad. And then, sometimes when she had those anxiety attacks, she would cry for like hours.
Uh,
So, so my whole goal was, again, to, be like her, what she did for me, be the memory maker. And not just for her, but really for my dad.
yeah.
Because, like I said before, happy life, happy wife.
Right.
Making my mom happy made my dad happy.
Right.
And so that's the kind of things we continue to do. And, and the one thing I'm so grateful for, especially my wife, is that her and my mom spent a lot of time together.
Yeah.
And they knew, and my mother, to be honest with you, my mother was like teaching her how to cook like her.
Okay. You
And
know, that's a good
um,
thing, right?
it was a wonderful thing because they gave my dad it gave him so much joy, because my wife's cooking, my mother's cooking is almost identical.
Wow. You're a happy husband on that note.
Like, I like to eat. My wife's an excellent cook. I mean, but what was funny about it, my mother would eat my wife's cooking,
Hmm.
and she would say, "I sure cooked a good meal today."
Yeah. You want to know what my mother does that to me? She does.
Yeah.
She does that to me, so I can, that resonates with me. I want to take you to a day that you shared with me, and your dad was sick, and the ambulance came.
Yeah, it's a chapter in my book called Shame. And
Mm,
in that story, in that day, what happened? Well, really, what happened? How it started off. I wasn't, again, I wasn't working. I used to work for the school district, and for political reasons, I wasn't there anymore. I was a director of technology. Kind of get some background with that. But all that being said, I was teaching as an adjunct part time for this one college. So they wanted me to come in to teach this cybersecurity class for somebody who couldn't make it that particular day. And
mm,
so I was driving to the school to college.
mhm,
And as I was driving, I got a phone call from them. They said, "You don't no need to come. The person can make it after all."
mhm,
So it was like right before I was passing my parents' exit, go
mhm.
to their house. And so I get off. And so instead, I go to my parents' house. I mean,
Okay,
I'm there every day, but I'm just getting there a lot earlier than I would have gotten.
okay.
So it's about lunchtime. My dad, he's feeding my mother. He's feeding her Captain D's. Um, and so I walked in. My dad said, "I'm not feeling good today. Can you finish feeding?" My mother's name is Daisy. "Can you finish feeding Daisy?" I said, "Sure." So I started feeding my mother. I noticed that my dad should be, he should be eating as well. I said, "Aren't you
Mhm,
going to eat?" He said, "Yeah, I don't feel good right now. I'm just going to sit down over here for a minute." I said, "Well, I said, have you taken your insulin yet?" He said, "Yes."
mhm,
I said, you got to eat so you don't have no low sugar episode. He said, "I know. Just let me sit down for a minute." So I fed my mother. And when I got done feeding her, I took her back in the bedroom, and had to use her bathroom. And I put her in the bed and I put in her favorite radio station so she can listen to it. Came back out their bedroom, went into the kitchen, and I was been going to the family room. I called my dad name, he didn't answer.
mhm,
And so then I looked around and he was, my dad, he's very routine. So he only sits in a certain place and he don't
mhm,
sit everywhere. He got this one seat he sit, and so he was sitting in a place that he never sits at. It was on the couch. He got his own chair he sits in. And so I thought that was strange. And then he was asleep. And so I said, "Dad, you gotta wake up." So I went over, he didn't hear me, so I went to shake him, to wake him up, to touch him. And when I touched him, his entire t-shirt was just drenched with just sweat. And so I immediately knew he was having a low sugar episode. So I just called 911. I didn't check his sugar level. I just called 911 and opened the front door. The first people that got there was the firemen. It was two firemen. Fire truck got there. And then when they got there, the first thing they did was check my dad's sugar. My dad's sugar level was at 21. He was going
mm.
to he was going to a diabetic coma.
Yeah, yeah.
By the time that the paramedics got there, he went to cardiac arrest, and they had to cut his t-shirt off and use that thing to shock you with to
Right.
get his heart back to running again, back beating again. So as all that was happening, and I'm watching this unfold in front of my eyes, I just started walking out of the family room and
Mm,
going. I was trying to go to the living room.
mhm,
I didn't quite make it there because I passed out. And the police and the next door neighbor to my parents, they caught me and got me got me up. So um, I remember my neighbor saying to me at the time, he said, "Norris," um, he said, "Is there anybody that can help you?" And I didn't say anything. He said, "You're here every day. I watch this house every day, and you're the only person that comes here every day. He said, this is just far too much for one person to take on. And so I didn't, I mean, I was ashamed, because I was ashamed for the fact that I had no one else to, to help.
Mm-hmm.
And so what ended up happening, they got my dad, they got his heart back beating. They got him on the gurney. They were going to take him to the hospital. My dad, he was conscious. He looked at me and he smiled. And the paramedics asked, well, are you going to follow us? Or are you going to ride in the ambulance with him? And I said, I can't go. And everybody looked and said, you can't go? They said, why? I said, because my mother is here. I got to take care of my mom. And then the first question they asked was like, what's wrong with her? I said, she has Alzheimer's, and she's in the later stages of Alzheimer's, and she can't stay by herself. And everybody's head just dropped. I mean, the police, I mean, next door neighbor, the paramedic. I mean, it was like six of them. I mean, it was like, it was six of them. All six of them heads just dropped. And they just left. And so I immediately called my sister, no answer. Called my aunt, my mother's sister, no answer.
Mm-hmm.
I called my mother's brother. His wife answered. I just said, can you at least just go and see about my dad? So she agreed, and they did that. Called my dad's brother. He said he would go by and check on my dad. But the point I'm making is that, and then my dad was in the hospital for an entire week. He was there for 7 days. So I was there with my mom for 7 days, and not no one came by that whole week. No one. That's the only person who came by that whole week was my wife.
Oh,
and she was, at the time, she was a principal for Riverview Garden School District, and you know what being a principal is like. So she was, she was struggling herself. Plus, she was having to take care of my father-in-law by herself. And so, she was busy. So, she couldn't do anything more than what she was doing. But the point I'm making, there was other people that could help, but they refused.
So let's pause for one moment, because by this point, is your father-in-law living with you?
Oh, he was living with us back in 2007.
Okay.
Yeah, he was living with us then.
And his health had started to fail.
Well, yeah, it had failed quickly. And what happened was he had got see what happened. My mother had got Alzheimer's. My mother-in-law had just died from myeloma cancer. They lived in Chicago. He moved in with us because he could not sustain himself just with his income in Chicago. Plus, it was just a blessing that he did come, because when he got here, he got all new doctors, and the doctors here gave him much better care than he was getting in Chicago. And he went to the doctor, and he was telling his doctor he needs this prescription refill for his acid reflux. And the doctor said, I don't think you have acid reflux. And so they did some tests and learned he had 5 clogged arteries. So they they went to his leg, got veins out of his legs, and replaced 5 of his arteries that go to his heart. And all you have is 7. When he got that surgery, everything went well, and something happened. He needed a heart. He needed a heart. What do you call it? Pacer, heart pacer.
A pacemaker.
Pacemaker. That's what it is. Pacemaker. But what ended up happening, he went to cardiac arrest, and then he got an infection. So he could not give him a pacemaker. He had to wait till the infection to pass. And so he ended in the pacemaker, and he stayed in the hospital almost it was like a month. It was a long time. I mean, it was a month. So when he got out of the hospital and he was recovering, part of the issue that we had with him is that he started to get this fluid that would that be on his belly area. Like all this fluid would be up, and it was like a lot of fluid. He got to the point that the fluid that built up on his belly area it was like 9 pounds of fluid. So what I was having to do for 2.5 years, I was taking him down to St. Louis University Hospital, all the way from. I mean, I live in St. Peters. Once a week just to get the fluid taken off. And they would have to do an ultrasound every time they did it. And they would, figure out where to put the needle at and let it drain. And it took about a couple of hours. And we did that every week for like 2.5 years. So it was just a lot going on. So, and then he had gout real bad. He had kidney disease. He was hospitalized a lot. But it was like up and down, up and down. He would get a lot better, then he'd go up and down. But the good news is that, when we all went out, this is the thing. We all went out to eat or did things together. It was all of us, my father-in-law, my mother, and my dad. And we spent a lot of time together. Because a lot of times when I had to do things with my parents or do for them, my father-in-law, he was right there with me. And so it was just, we just had a really good relationship. And even after my mother had passed, me and my dad and my father-in-law would go on road trips together. And I remember one road trip we took, I talk about it in my book. We went to, we had a family reunion in Jackson, Mississippi. And so my father-in-law, he came, because everybody, I mean, all my relatives, we all like family. Everybody know him. And so, I got these two old guys, they own medicine. And I swear, I stopped at every rest stop between here and Mississippi. Because every time, they both like saying, "Don't stop! We got to stop at the next rest stop." And we got all the way to where was it? We got all the way to Memphis. And my dad had this thing. He wanted to go on this. My mother had passed, and so he was having this walk down memory lane thing about all the places that him and my mother always stopped at. Going to Mississippi. So he wanted to stop. He was like, we got to stop at Shoney's. Because that was my mother's favorite restaurant to stop at was Shoney's. So he stopped there. And so, before we left to go on the road trip, I asked my dad, I said, you got your insulin, you got all your stuff for your diabetes. He said, yep. He showed me the bag, and I said, okay, we got everything. We get to the Shoney's restaurant. He ready to pull this stuff out so you can like shoot up, test his sugar and shoot up and stuff. He had everything but his insulin.
Oh my goodness.
So he's in a panic. And so because he's in a panic, I'm in a panic. And I'm like, my mind's just like racing. How do I figure this out? And I just started thinking and thinking and thinking and thinking. Now I remember seeing a Walgreens. Okay. So I went over to Walgreens next door to Shoney's, and I said, I talked to the pharmacist. I said, this is what's going on. They looked up my dad's prescriptions and, database. They said, oh, we got you. They gave me enough insulin to take care of him for the whole weekend. Aww. So it worked out, but it was just always something to seem like. And then I had, and then they relied on me for like everything. I had to put shoes, dress them, and
Yeah,
They
yeah.
can't bend over good, so I gotta put the shoes on. They need help with their belt. They don't know how to, they want to dress up, and so I had to button all of their. They didn't want to wear like a regular shirt. They want to wear the shirt that got cufflinks in it.
You kept them fly, huh, Norris?
Yeah, they want to be. They want to look all fly, and I mean, it was just like, and I'm like the person doing all of this. And it's like, by the time I get done with them, I'm exhausted. I don't even have no energy to even want to go anywhere. But I did. I mean, it was fun. I mean, we had a good time.
That's beautiful. I can see the joy in your face.
Yeah.
I can see the camaraderie, and although this is your father-in-law and this is your dad, it's almost like a brotherhood that was formed as well.
Yeah, my dad and my father-in-law were born the same year, and
Oh,
their
okay.
birthdays are only 11 days. I think it was like 15 days apart.
Mm.
And so, and they both were the same zodiac sign, so they had a lot of commonality there. But what was funny, we used to go out to dinner a lot, and people would see us in the community, and they thought my father-in-law was my dad. And
Okay.
so, cause we saw us together so much. So, and I would tell people that these are my two dads. And then but they're not a couple.
Well, okay, okay, okay. Yeah. Yeah.
A show like that, my two dads. So,
Yes, 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 yes,
and
yes.
so they would
Well, my
laugh.
two sons, I think it was, but you had my two dads.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I had my two dads, and but they would laugh, you know. 'Cause people may think they were a couple. I don't know. But it was just funny though. But they enjoyed each other. You
Yeah.
know, they enjoyed each other, and we were together up to like my dad died in 2017, and a week before he passed, maybe a couple weeks before he passed, we all went to a friend of mine's house to watch the Super Bowl,
Okay.
and we were all together then. My dad, my father-in-law, and myself, and
Mm-hmm.
that was our last picture we took together.
Mm.
And my dad couldn't even. And the thing about it, my dad really couldn't walk that well by then. My friend of ours, his name is Ron. He had these real nice Super Bowl parties at his house, and he got like an atrium ranch, and so it was stairs. So my
Mm.
dad couldn't do the stairs, and so what was so neat about it is that the men got together and they carried my dad down the stairs.
Wow. Wow.
So it was just, I mean, a lot of people just had high respect for my dad.
Mm.
I mean, a lot of people did. So, and my mother. I mean, because it was just, there's one friend of mine. It's another story in the book. It's called Groovy People.
Okay.
And so, Groovy People is a story about my barber. It was a lady that we hired. We call her the bath lady. And they give my mother a bath. My mother, she just loved this lady. And then it's about my mother's hairdresser, who would
Mm.
always shut the shop down just for my mom and about my wife. And so that's why I call it Groovy People. But there's one particular story is about my barber. So my barber name is his name is 𝐿 Price. He has a St. Charles Barber College in St. Charles. He's also a commissioner for Missouri for barber and cosmetology.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, come to find out that Desi has known my parents longer than he's known me.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
And so it's an interesting story. So when Desi was a little boy and my dad worked at Westnato, Desi would go into Westnato and he would go, him and his siblings would go in there every week and go look at the bikes.
Okay.
And so Desi would always stop and watch my dad work on cars
Mhm.
because he never saw a black mechanic in his life.
Oh, okay.
And so he was like, and then he would watch him. And the reason he would watch him because everybody respected him, and he is like he's like watching him work on the car and how he interact with the customer.
Mhm.
And he was just intrigued by it. And so anyway, my dad, he always saw him, and he said, and he always, talked to him. But and then time passed, and he stopped coming. But then that same person, Desi, he was my mother's one of her students. He went to O'Fallon Tech, and my mother was a typing teacher, and she was his favorite teacher.
Ah.
And so, the reason I'm telling you this because I didn't know him at all because there was no reason for me to know him. So after I had got married, and I had to finish college, and I got married, and I was trying to find me a barber here in St. Charles because back in those times, you just they didn't have any African American barbers that cut black hair, and he was like one of the first ones in the St. Charles area. And so I went to this shop, and he cut my hair for the first time. And
Mhm.
so, and I was real frustrated because I've been trying to find me a barber, and I'm trying to have this corporate look, this clean cut look. And then I was working for electronic data systems at the time, and I had went to this barber. This lady cut it, and she did a fantastic job the first time. The second time, she gave me a kid and play haircut, and so I
Oh.
had no hair on the side and this big old bouffant at the top. And I didn't know what to do. And I had to go on a business trip to Dallas, like in a couple of days. It was horrific.
And so for what you're saying is there were no black barbers in your area.
In my area where I lived, I
In
wasn't one in
your
my area where I lived at. And so
right.
Desi was one of the first black barbers. So anyway, he became my barber, and then he ended up cutting my hair, my son's hair, and then he eventually started cutting my dad's hair. And
Okay.
that's how we figured out that he was that little boy that my dad would always see at 𝑭𝒐𝒧𝒏𝒆𝒏.
Oh. Oh.
Then one day, I always had, like, my wife had this big Christmas gathering at our house around the Christmas holidays. I always asked Desi to come. And so one time he finally came, and he was in my house, in my family room, and he was looking at the pictures on the bookcases and stuff. And he said, "That's Mrs. Roberts." And I said, he said, "Mrs. Roberts, your mother?" And I
Mhm.
said, "Yeah, she here. You want to see her?" And so I called my mother, and then the first thing she said, "Desi, what you doing here?"
Oh, wow. The world is small.
And so it came, and then we was talking. He was telling mother, he said, "I've been cutting your son's hair. I mean, he's been cutting my hair for like for 15 years at this point. Been cutting my son's hair. He
Mhm.
even began cutting my dad's hair, but he never made the connection that we were all related."
Okay.
And so it was just amazing that I mean how this one person has been connected to all three of us in different stages of life, and
Wow.
then we all end up together. And so Desi, I mean, and what I liked about Desi so much is that when my dad couldn't come to the barbershop get his haircut
Mhm.
because for health reasons, Desi would come to his house and cut his hair.
This is so beautiful. I love the way the community just, surrounded around your whole family, really, um, just to kind of support you along, your groovy people.
It was awesome, and then the one thing, and Desi gave my dad his last haircut because my dad, I'm not in the, my dad, he actually died from pancreas cancer. So my dad got diagnosed with pancreas cancer actually on my mother's third anniversary death.
Okay.
date. And so they diagnosed him, and he had pancreas cancer. It was on March 11, 2017. He died March 18, 2017. So me and Desi got together a couple of days before he died, and people was coming by to see him during that time, and so we want him to look his best, and we know how he feel about looking his best. So we went and cut his hair and shaved him a couple of days before he passed,
Mm,
and it made him feel better, and it was just again, Desi, this man, he's a busy man. This man, he runs a college, a school,
right, right.
and he's a commissioner for the state. And for him to take that kind of, to stop what he was doing or it didn't matter. He cared. He loved my dad. He loved my family. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's what he did. And he did it. It wasn't like a one off. He did it all the time. My dad could not didn't come get his haircut. Desi would go to his house without me and cut his hair.
That's beautiful. That is beautiful. I'm thankful to Desi and to the community members that came around you. And so it is not lost on me that we do have people in the community that do surround around caregivers to help. And I'm just going to say to those of you who are not taking care of someone, the opening of the door when there's a wheelchair going in, um, to the help if you kind of need somebody to walk with you, uh, the making that to explain something and just to make it easier. The beauticians, the barbers, the church members, all of these people really do make a difference. So it is the little things that matter. But I still want to acknowledge this reality that Generation X is in, because there's never really been a time where parents are living so long. It's a good thing, but Generation X is the first generation who's really experienced taking care of their parents, not for, 1 year or 2 years, decades.
A decade or more. Mine was 12 years. That's a
Right,
lot. And then
exactly.
not only taking care of me, I had a granddaughter
Right.
living with me,
You know what? I was just about to get that. And then on top of that, you got the kids and the grandkids.
and then
Uh,
you trying to you got your kids, and even though they like young adults making adult decisions,
mhm,
you still you got financial support for them. I'm
mhm,
still paying car insurance. I'm still paying health insurance. I'm taking the grandbaby to the doctor with my daughter.
mhm, mhm.
So it's just and then she's trying to work, and so I'm in between all of everything else is going on. I'm taking care of the grandbaby too.
I understand. That is a lot of pressure. A lot of pressure, Norris. You know what? You got some broad shoulders and you got a big old heart. And I just want to say, look, I'm going to give you a hand. I'm going to celebrate you, okay?
Thank
Uh,
you, thank you.
just sincerely, just lifting you up. I've been doing this series and I'm doing a lot of short videos where men are explaining about masculinity and manhood. I'm just going to say you're a walking definition.
Thank you.
Yes,
That's
yes.
awesome. That's
Lady
awesome. Thank
Fresh is
you.
agreeing with me. Yes, yes. You are a walking definition because it's not the one thing that you do and it's not the thing that you do wrong. It's the things that you do over and over and over that support your entire unit, you know. And better yet, the joy that it gives you. That's what I think is magnificent. the joy that it gives you to do these things. It's not that you don't understand that they can be a challenge, and it's not necessarily how you would have designed the situation, but it is your response to the situation with joy that I love.
I have a tagline. I always when I sign my books, I always sign it with and you've seen it. It's
Yeah.
love is the most excellent way.
Yes.
And so, and that's my thing. I just think, that's the way you do everything. You
Yeah.
do everything with love. If you
Mhm.
can't do it with love, don't do it, you
Mhm.
know. So, I mean, that's my motto. I mean, love is most excellent way. So, I mean, that's all I know how. I mean, to be honest with you, Erica, that's all I know how to do. I don't know how to do it any other way.
You know what? It's just inside of you.
Yeah,
Uh, and so maybe to be a great man, the most important thing for you to do is love.
I believe so. That's it. And it's
Hmm.
not hard. I mean, it's not hard to, I mean, we all have our struggles and, but, having a smile goes a long way.
Yeah.
And you can just smile when everything's not perfect. I mean, things don't have to be perfect for you to smile. You just smile because my thing is that I can do it. I'm just happy that I was able to do it.
Right.
Um,
I
because
sense that.
the thing is that I'm not. It's in my book too, but I got a flashback in my book. When I was 28 years old, I got diagnosed with testicular cancer,
Mm.
and you know, that was. I mean, and when I did get diagnosed with that, I had two kids. I had a wife, um, and I was working at AGA. I had a great job.
Hmm.
I was in my last quarter of graduate school,
Okay.
and I had this situation where I could die.
Okay.
And if every day wasn't successful like it turned out to be, I could not, I may not even been here. And so it was just, and so that's why my mother, when she got diagnosed with the Alzheimer's, my mother thing was like, I mean, she was upset by it. And because it's a, it's a disease that's incurable.
Right.
And, and it's just nothing you can do but just brace yourself for it and go through it. And she made a comment, why couldn't I have something like cancer, something
Hmm.
I can fight? And I thought about that. And it's like, I was in a situation when someone tells you that you can die, that does something to you. And the thing is that I had hope and she didn't. And so I got, I understood where she was coming from when she got diagnosed. Because when that happened to me, I can tell you exactly how it happened. I was at work
Hmm.
and and the guy, and I had some tests done like a couple of days prior, and my doctor was out of town, but he said he gonna have his father's a medical doctor. He's gonna like share the diagnosis with me, and let me know, what how the test came back. They came back positive. And so I didn't know what that even really meant. I mean, I guess I didn't want to know what it really meant, but
You're
when he
28.
told, I was
Wait.
28 years old. And so I was at my desk and I just started crying. I cried. And at the time, um, I just started crying and I couldn't even stop. And I grabbed my briefcase, my trench coat, and I was wearing a suit back then, and I walked out that building, and I walked down Market Street. I rode the bus to work that day. I didn't have to ride the bus, but I always try to save money and stuff. They gave us
Okay.
a free bus pass to ride the bus and stuff to save on, on commuting and stuff. And
Okay.
so I had to wait for the bus, down there by St. Louis City Hall downtown. I was riding the bus from downtown St. Louis to St. Charles, like 3 times a week.
Wow.
So I cried to the point that I didn't have an ounce of water, a tear in my eyes. And when I got home to my wife and I told her what happened, she said, "You'll be all right." And I got mad. I was like, "It's not gonna be all right. I could die. Do I have enough insurance money? What you gonna do if I'm not here?" I went completely nuts.
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
And I called my doctor because they told me to call the surgeon because I was in surgery like in 3 days.
Wow. Wow.
So it
Okay.
was serious. It was very, very
Right.
serious. It
It
was
was.
no, it
Thank
was
goodness
very.
you went to the doctor. And I'm just going to pause right here and say June is Men's Health Month. Men go to the doctor. Men go to the doctor. Men go to the doctor. We're having a seminar on June 18th regarding men's mental health. But we have Men's Health Month for a reason. Guys, go ahead and make your appointment now because had they not caught it, Norris, what might have happened?
I could have, I could have had cancer to spread it to my whole body.
Hmm. Hmm.
That's what could have happened. They caught mine very, very early, and so I didn't have to go through all the chemo and stuff because they caught it so early. But they had to watch me for like 5 years.
Wow.
And so even to this day, when I get a physical, my physicals are very, very thorough.
Hmm.
So I get a physical actually next week. So
Ah,
yeah, I'm big on going to. I mean, after that situation, I go to
okay.
the doctor for everything. I don't play. If I get a bump on me, they do CAT scans.
I
They don't.
see.
I mean, it's when I get anything that happens because of that situation, they take it very serious.
In my mind, I'm thinking of the movie It's a Wonderful Life, right? Because you were only 28 years old when you had a real health scare. And I'm thinking, who would have been there to pick up your mom? Who would have been there to babysit the grandkids? Who would have been there to drive your father in law and your father across the country? Who would have been there the day that your father went into a diabetic situation where his blood sugar was only 21?
Well, I don't know. It would not have been me.
Right. I
Thank
mean,
God I'm
so
here. You know.
thank God you're here. So it's just so many things that you touched that were really, it was you. It was you and you alone. God put you there, put you in that place. You and you alone that was the hinge for that particular moment, right? So it's a pretty big deal. Pretty big deal.
But I love those people to death. I think about them every day.
Hmm.
I miss them so much, even though um, it was hard when they were here with us.
Hmm.
I just, you know, I do it again in a heartbeat. I would do it again.
Of
I would
course,
do it again.
I see that. I see that you would love to do it again.
Yep. Because we had so much. I mean, even though it was hard, we just had a good time together. It just we still, in spite of everything, we laughed, and that's what I loved about even my mother. We just even though when she couldn't remember no more. I remember one time, uh, my mother got to a point where she didn't even speak anymore.
Okay.
I didn't even hear her voice for like 6 months,
Mm,
and I didn't hear her voice for 6 months. And so one time I was combing her hair, and I'm talking to you. I'm just combing the hair and just, sharing, all the things that are happening, with my kids and, you know, me trying to find work. And
Mhm.
I'm just sharing, I'm just talking to her like she's mom.
Mhm.
And my mother got up out of the seat and grabbed me and held me tight and told me it's gonna be okay. It was
Mm.
She said it's gonna be okay, like in a way that only a mother can say it.
Wow.
And I had not heard her voice like it was months. And it was like she was lucid. She heard everything I said. And that's what the other issues that were people, a lot of times they just assume they'll say things like, "Oh, she's not there anymore. She's gone. She's just a shell." It's a horrible thing, and it's not true.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They still are there.
Right.
Uh, just because they can't communicate to you like they did when they were healthy, don't assume that they're absent, completely
Mhm.
absent. I mean, they still are having lucid thoughts. They
Mhm.
just can't communicate it to others like they did in the past. And it's just so unfortunate that people just think that way and say those things because it's not true. But this is the one thing I loved about. I'm grateful that I was there because it was those little moments and those little nugget of moments that I got a chance to have. If I not had been there, I wouldn't have gotten them.
Right. They're priceless.
They priceless because even though it may look this way, but it wasn't. I mean, she was there. She was there the whole time. It's like she was just incarcerated with this disease. And I was,
Mm.
and I got a chance to I got a chance to see her come out of that incarceration.
That's beautiful.
So, yeah, it was, but I would do, I mean, but I would do that, all over again, just to, just, just to have them near.
Mm, mm. Some you were telling a story about the insensitive comments that people make, and I'm just going to jump in and let you know that I really do understand that because when my mother's situation, doctors, nurses, um, caregivers, they would write my mother off. They would tell me she was not there. They would say she wouldn't make it. They wanted to just act like she was worthless. And that was just part of the frustration because it was a constant fight. And so I'm not sure what it is about constantly being around people who are sick that gives you that kind of mindset to write people off. But to you, that's your mother, and you want every single effort made, you know?
Exactly.
Right. We're not going to just sign off on this. So um, I highlight that because don't let your parents and your loved ones, your aunts, your uncles, don't let them go to the doctor and be at that hospital by themselves without an advocate and representation. Or don't let them be in the nursing home with, out visiting them, you know. Check to make sure that people are doing the things they're supposed to be doing because if you don't, they will let that person slide and slip away.
You're right. You're 100% right. You
Hmm.
gotta be there with her. You gotta. I mean, I used to spend a night with with my mother and well, all of them. My dad, he didn't, not so much with my father-in-law and my mother. I did spend the night because they were hospitalized more. Um, but you just got to be present all the time, because when you show that the thing I've learned is that when you show that you care, then they're going to pay more attention to the people that are being paid attention to by their family.
That's true. That's
They're
true.
gonna,
When you show that you care, uh, and you're following up, it's a management phrase. I'm trying to think of it, but what gets what gets measured gets done, or something like that.
I know
What
you see that.
right?
Like the squeaky wheel gets the oil.
right? All of those things.
Yeah.
And you
Mhm.
want to know what? I just want to be clear. It's not the. Don't be mean to any nurses or anything like that. By all means, bring them cookies, cakes, snacks. I was the snack lady. I was the snack lady. I came in there with sodas, juice, uh, little Debbie's, cupcakes, donuts. I used to buy the big things from Sam's and all kinds of potatoes. I actually had a little snack table, okay, that I would set up. This one right here. I don't care what you do with any of these others, we might care, but this one right here, you take care of. You know, I'll support you if you support this one right here. Whew, it was something. It was something. Norris, um, you were comfortable enough and kind enough to share your tears with us today. And I appreciate that. I highlight that because I've had so many men tell me that they feel like they can't cry. And to me, a real man can cry.
Yeah, I think I'm a real man, so I
Well, I'm
cry.
pretty sure you're a real man. I'm quite sure that maybe, just maybe, if I opened up the dictionary, I might see your picture.
No, I just, I will cry. I mean, I'm not really a crier, but I have my moments. I say that, I have my moments, but
I
I'm not
think
crying because I'm sad. It's just, I'm not. Maybe I am sad, but I just miss them.
it's impacting you, and it's okay.
Yeah, I just miss them, and it's just the family is not what it was when they were here, and that's unfortunate.
Hmm.
It just really, and this is being honest. It's just not what it was. But I was thinking about that the other day. We've been married for it'd be 33 years, actually next month. And
Hmm.
so I remember when we got married, we had over 400 people at our wedding.
Hmm.
And so we had like our 25th anniversary. We had a reenactment of the wedding.
Okay.
We did the vows and everything. Had a minister, and it's probably maybe 150 was there.
Okay.
But then we had 30th anniversary, and it was even less people there, probably about a good 100 people.
Okay.
But but it's like when as you get older, it's like as a young person, you go into, it's like having a room, and the room is like packed, and
Okay.
then you get older, and the room is like it shrinks and it shrinks and it shrinks. And it's not so, and it's because people are leaving here. I mean, so many of these people, it's that they gone. I mean, when I got married, I had grandparents, and now I don't even have parents. I have no, I'm an orphan. I'm an adult orphan. And
Mm.
so, and it's like half of my mother's siblings are gone. So they just not even here anymore. I mean, so they died. So I think
Mm.
that's what's sad, is that, you sit here and your whole life starts to shrink. And,
Mm.
it's just, you know, it's just different. It's just a different world. And
Mm.
it's not, and I guess I'm replacing my parents. I mean, that's
Right.
what happened. But it's like, it's just not it's not the same. I'm not going to have what they had,
Right.
and I have to accept that because the world's different.
The world is different.
It's just different, and it's just unfortunate because people are just not like they were in those times. They
Mm-hmm.
just, it's just not. Um, you know, we just not as close as we once were. As
Mm-hmm.
I hope for us to be, but a lot of those people that were keeping us connected aren't here anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and for whatever reason, um, there's a void, but it's a void that really can't be filled. That hasn't been filled, and I don't think it's that it couldn't be filled. I think it's just people choosing like they don't really want that or need that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think that's the part that's sad.
Mm-hmm.
But thank God for memories.
Thank you for memory.
Thank God for memories. So the memories I have are just, that's why writing the book was a joy because it gave me a way to put those memories down on paper
Mm-hmm.
and then be able to share that little piece of them that brought me so much happiness and joy. It make others remember the happiness and joy that their loved ones brought them when they were, coming up and, living their dreams and living their life out.
Wow. That is so beautiful. That is so beautiful. Norris, I mean, you've taken us on a journey this evening, but there is more in your book. Can you tell us where we can find your book?
You can find my book on Amazon, Barnes and Noble. You can find it on my website, which is called www. The Still Here
Mm-hmm.
series.com. Or you can just go to, daddyisstillhere.com or mamaisstillhere.com. It takes you all to the same website.
Okay.
So you look up my name, you would find it. I mean, it's easy to find because um, the global search engine they have out there do pick me up quickly.
Okay, well
So
that's
just put Norris Roberts, you'll find it. But it's on Amazon and it's also on my website. And and also Barnes and Noble. And it's any fine book retailer would have my book.
okay.
Um, any fine book retailer. So if you want to go somewhere else and get it and order it online, you can get it. Because my distributor is Ingram. Ingram distributes to the whole world. So you can find it.
Sounds good. We have a direct question for you from Dr. Rice. He wants to know, how do you keep the memories alive for your children and grandchildren?
I talk about my parents.
Okay.
I talk about them like they're here. I talk like I'm talking to you. I'm keeping them alive right now by talking to you guys. I mean, this is how I keep them alive and keep that memory alive. And I have pictures of them, and I do the same things that they would do. And
Mm,
I do this. I mean, and I talk about how my parents would adore them if they
oh,
were here.
yeah.
Um, and I would talk about how my kids look like my parents. How they got my daughter has my mother's hair. She got my mother's figure.
There
she
you
has my
go.
mother's, she has my mother's jawline.
Okay.
That kind of. I mean, you just talk about the things they left things here. They left parts of them here. I'm a part of them. You
Amen.
know, and then my grandkids are a part of them because they got like my granddaughter, she has dimples like I do have, like I have.
Yeah, yeah. You
And
really do look like your dad. I've seen some pictures of your dad. You really look like your dad. There's pictures on your website. There's a question about the name of your book, and so um, it is the first one is Mama is Still Here. The second one is Daddy is Still Here. And they're part of the Still Here series. And then, as a matter of fact, Norris, you have been working with the Alzheimer's Association on your mother's behalf. Is that correct?
that's correct. And so actually I got a meeting with them next week.
Mhm.
And
That's good.
so we working on a we trying to do I'm trying to get I work for Boeing. And
Mhm.
so I'm the president of the Boeing Diversity and Inclusion Council, and that's over what we call the Boeing Resource Groups. And so
Okay.
what I'm trying to do, we're trying to set up a campaign for the Alzheimer's Walk, and and so I'm working with them to raise money for research, and
Hmm.
then that's what I'm doing with them. And so I'm gonna have them come to Boeing, hopefully end of next month, and we're gonna kick off the campaign for raising money for a cure for Alzheimer's.
All right. That's a beautiful thing. Dr. Rice has one more question.
Yeah.
He wants to know, do you sense a sense of appreciation for their heritage? So he's asking if your children and grandchildren have a sense of appreciation for their heritage.
That's a complicated question.
Mhm.
And the reason I say that because I think deep down they do, but
Mhm.
they I think they will at some point, but they just don't exhibit it strongly like I would like them to.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
the thing is that it's been poured into them.
Mhm.
So I mean, I poured into them like a hurricane. So so it's up to them, about our family heritage. I mean, we have a you know one thing I would say, like uh, my, the Roberts. Even to this day we have land in Mississippi,
Mhm.
and my grandfather left about 200 plus acres of land, um, to his kids, and and then that's got passed down to myself when my dad died. But
Okay.
the richness of our what I want to say is that when my dad was young, the Roberts had more land than any family in Carroll County, black or white.
Okay.
And so um, they just they were a kind of family that I mean, my great grandparents, and my grandparents, they were a community building type family. They came from a place called Spring Hill, Mississippi,
Mhm.
and Spring Hill, Mississippi was a community of all black. It was like they were all blacks. They would call them mulatto back then,
Mhm.
and they had their own schools. They had their own church. They built a whole community. Um, and they took care of took care of themselves. So it wasn't, and they were financially solid people.
Mhm.
So like I get the example. My dad was in his 20s, and he was driving a brand new car. Black man, Mississippi, driving a brand new car. So that speaks volumes for itself.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just saying we came from some good stock, and it's just and the thing about it, what I like about my lineage is that we I come up from a lineage of accomplished people
Okay.
on both sides of my family. So my mother's side and my dad's side, mostly my dad's side, I would say. So I say that to say we have a lot to be grateful for, thankful for, and the thing I try to reiterate, especially to my kids, is that we owe our ancestors a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Owe them a lot because a lot of us didn't have it as well as a lot. I mean, it could have been a lot worse,
Right.
and it was a lot worse for a lot of people. So we owe it to them that we didn't have the same struggles.
Mm-hmm.
That we didn't have we could have struggled. We had our struggles weren't the norm. I don't know how to really say it, but you probably know what I mean. But it's just for what my parents, my grandparents did, my great grandparents did, my parents did. They gave us a good foundation,
They
and
gave you.
so yeah,
Yeah, they certainly did.
and I owe it to them to make them proud.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
owe them that. So I don't. It's not. I just like. I think it's not even a choice. We owe them that. They deserve it because otherwise, I could be in prison.
I think that the riches that they actually left you with, that I see the most, is honor, integrity, love, and appreciation. Your father, the way he loved your mother was through the vehicle of appreciation and a grateful heart. We had a conversation about pride here recently. And the kind of pride that your dad had for his wife is the healthy kind of pride for sure.
Yeah, he did. He loved that. He loved that woman.
Yeah. He had a
I
pride
mean,
for
he did.
he
He
did.
did.
That
He
was
did.
so not the kind of pride that drives you to violence, but the kind of pride that drives you to sacrifice and love and appreciation. Love in action. Hmm. Norris, you have truly, you know, demonstrated that we are better together. I cannot thank you enough for sharing your heart with us. And stay backstage for a little bit, but family, I appreciate you for watching, and I love it every time we come together. But for now, I must say bye bye for now. I'll see you next time. You're winning.